So I'm going to reset the stage here for everybody. We have breaking news, and that is we have caught the Biden administration in, quote, the horse is out of the barn. Unfortunately, the horse that's out of the barn are two terrorists from Yemen that came in through our southern border. Now, we picked up this issue about a year and a half ago.
Much like the Obama administration, a news report about two Yemeni men, a couple months apart, being apprehended. They were both on the no-fly list, both on the terror watch list of the FBI. And there was a press release put up about this by Customs and Border Patrol. That's on the DHS website. 2 days ago, it was put up. And last night, the press release is no more. So unless you go into the Internet Archive, you can't find this on DHS website. It just says access denied. But what it was a full account
of what happened.
And including photos.
Yeah, so let me tell you what we did this morning. We have amended a FOIA demand that we're sending out. Freedom of Information Act request. It's going to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security as well as the United States Customs and Border Protection. And in that letter, we are demanding access to all records, any and all records relating to a press release from the Customs and Border Patrol being removed about the arrest of two illegal aliens on the FBI's terrorism watch list and no-fly list. So that is going to come out. They're going to fight us really aggressively on this. So be prepared for that. There's going to be a fight here. That's just the nature of what happens with these. But just to let you know that the American Center for Law and Justice already this morning, or this afternoon, depending when you're listening, has already taken action. Now, the letter, they will respond to it. They will deny access initially. That's what always happens in these. And then off to court we go. We just filed another one against the FBI. This one is the newest one. Folks, this is what we're going to be doing. Your support of the ACLJ allows us to do this. And two people get into the country on the terrorism watch list. Interestingly, when Jen Psaki says how rare this is, let me tell you what the chief patrol agent, Greg Bavino, said. Today, like every other day, our agents did that. This was the quote. Part of the Border Patrol's mission, he said, states we will protect the country from terrorists. Today, like every other day, our agents did that. These apprehensions on our border illustrate the importance of our mission and how we can never stop being vigilant in our everyday mission to protect this great country. And now the DHS scrubs their website.
You know, these two Yemenis, they were not captured together. One was captured January 29th at 1:10 a.m., and another was captured just this past March 30th at 11:30 p.m. So interesting. These are both, at very late at night or early hours of the next day. Mm-hmm. They're trying to sneak in. They're trying to get in. Now, 1,000 people a day are getting in like them, or, similarly situation where they don't want to be taken in by the U.S. under any means because they will be in trouble. So those are the ones you have to watch out for the most. Who is going around the process completely? And while we see the images of the 5-year-olds who get left behind by these coyotes, who are thankfully taken in by our Customs and Border Patrol, fed, clothed, trying to figure out what's going on, the real threat to the country is, one, the massive influx of people, but two is a couple of bad guys.
Yeah, well,
a couple of bad guys can kill a lot of Americans.
Here's what Chad Wolf, the former acting secretary of DHS, said. Take a listen.
These are just two individuals that have been apprehended in the last 60 days. But again, we have probably over about 1,000 gotaways. So you don't know at the end of the day how many more are out there, how many more have crossed that border, because we don't have the number of Border Patrol agents on the line, on the border, doing their job.
Colonel Wes Smith, senior analyst for the ACLJ on military matters, has done some investigation on what was looking like in previous years, and you got some reports.
Yeah. There are actually 1.2 million people on the terror watch list worldwide. But the latest report I could find this morning from the Department of Homeland Security said that in the year 2019, that fiscal year, they apprehended 3,700 known people on the terror watch list at the border.
Give that number again.
3,700 in the year 2019, 2 years ago, and that is an average of about 10 a day. And when Jen Psaki says that, well, this is an uncommon thing to catch terrorists at the border, Jay, it was uncommon for 19 hijackers to fly planes into a building on 9/11. It's not something that happens all the time. It is extremely dangerous. And as we've been saying here for years, this is not only a humanitarian crisis, this is a national security crisis.
But then we haven't given it enough attention, actually, the fact that they have done this which they did when it was the Obama administration. They would edit things that were played publicly. Then they said, oops, that's bad because that shows problems. So now what we're going to do is we're going to re-edit the video. And we went to court to get the answer to that. And, of course, the answer was they got an order to do it. It wasn't some little video guy saying, hey, I think I'm going to, a guy down in the bottom of the editorial pool. There was an order. Fix this. Now this one, what is the explanation going to be as to why a press release was put out about the apprehension of 2 Yemeni individuals on the terror watch list and on the no-fly list? It was put up on a press release as a positive. We caught these guys, and now, Jordan, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. What is the deal? Why do they always want to hide the ball? It's not anything, again, that we haven't been reported on before. They confirmed it through a government press release. And, again, it doesn't fit a narrative they like on the border. Oh, don't worry about the terrorists coming through, even though we had a press release up on the Customs and Border Patrol website. We took that down because it's not a big deal that we put their photographs out there for everyone to see that they had captured these 2 Yemenis. Both on the no-fly list and the FBI terror watch list. They constantly, this is the same under the Obama administration, it's the same people as the Biden administration, they don't mind if they're outright caught doing it, so long as they can mislead enough Americans about the truth of what's happening. So they think they can control the aspects of truth, including deleting information that they themselves put out there.
So they delete information that they put out, and that is, that they caught 2 really bad guys coming through the border. They did that, and then they delete that because that's not our narrative if these are people just seeking humanitarian. We went to court. We sent a letter first, didn't get the response we wanted, went to court. Started getting documents. Those documents show, and as I said, headline, the horse is out of the barn. Here's the horse. They published, the Customs Border Patrol published that, in fact, these 2 Yemeni individuals on the terror watch list were apprehended. That's a good thing. Americans need to know that's actually happening on the southern border. FBI went ballistic. Take it down. We don't want that up. That's what their emails. We have their emails. Hey, we don't want it. There's another one right there. And we got dozens in this litigation. And then they're saying, well, we don't want to look like the Customs Border Patrol, I don't want to look like we're muzzling people. And then, of course, the FBI said this puts our FBI colleagues in a very bad spot. Even though the FBI office in San Diego approved the release. Now, here's what you have to understand. Your taxpayer dollars, my taxpayer dollars, are going right now, trying to fund 87,000 new agents at the IRS to do what? To tax you, to get money from you. How about taking that money, instead of taxing me and taxing you, how about protecting you and me and our families from terrorists coming in on our southern border? So instead of 87,000 new IRS agents, maybe 20,000 new Border Patrol agents. I mean, it'd be great to have 87,000. No one would be raising any concern about taxpayer money going on the southern border to protect the United States, even if it was $80 billion. Nobody would be complaining about that. But they don't want to do that. This is we totally undercut their entire narrative. Now, here's the thing. Jordan's in Washington right now in our office on Capitol Hill. We are staring at the United States. We're right behind the Supreme Court. We stare at the United States Capitol. The Senate office buildings are across the street. The congressional office buildings are on the next block. We have ACLJ and ACLJ action. That our litigation team's there and our government affairs team's there. And now we're going to take this information, Jordan, and we're going to get some results for the American people.
That's right, because in the emails, and we again see between Marcia Espinosa, who is now the principal advisor to Secretary Mayorkas. Her name is not redacted because she was CBP. She got an email from someone at the FBI, they are redacted, that said, I need to alert you that our folks at, now we know it's FBI, that they tried to redact that too, are pretty upset that anyone's watch list status was discussed. Why? Why are we worried about terrorists having their watch list status discussed instead of protecting America from terrorists? Because it's more about the Washington, D.C. swamp that runs these law enforcement divisions of the executive branch have been infected by partisan politics. Yep. And when they're infected by partisan politics, they don't care about the actual mission that they're supposed to be carrying out. They care about, how does this story impact what we're trying to tell the American people, whether it's true or not?
Now, when you go through the whole thing here, Cece, The problem is it exposes the underbelly of what's going on here, but it's dangerous for the American people.
Yes, it's that the Biden administration does not care to protect the American people. That is not their concern, and it never has been, and it doesn't look like it ever will be.
It's going to be, because you know what we're going to do? Now the House is controlled by friends of ours. So they can oversight hearings, and they control the purse. So you know what? Reallocate some of that money. Already got our taxpayer dollars. Use it for something good. Protect American citizens. Protect our kids from the fentanyl terrorism attacks. And that's what those are, as Jordan said correctly. Rick Grenell is going to be joining us on air as well. He's a former director of national intelligence. He knows a little bit about this stuff. He is a senior advisor to the ACLJ. Support our work at aclj.org. Back with more in a moment. All right, welcome back, everybody. And we've exposed what's happened here, and it's incredible. And we're joined by our senior advisor for National Security and International Affairs. Rick Grenell is the former acting director of national intelligence. Rick has been a big proponent of the ACLJ's work on the Freedom of Information Act. And folks, I told Rick, I've said this before here, and you know this. You file 10, one is going to produce, and it's pretty much what it is. And I'll never forget a couple of years ago, we filed one, went to court, and found out that Mahmoud Abbas's son's getting, $1 million a year from the State Department to be whatever he was doing. This is the head of the Palestinian Authority. So you find these things. Well, this one is really shocking because Customs and Border Patrol apprehends 2 terrorists. That's a good thing. Who knows what the numbers have got away? That's the scary part. And they put it up on their website, and then the FBI has them take it down, NDHS, saying, quote, and this is what they said, Rick, "The horse is out of the barn." We've got the emails, folks. We've got the correspondence. So this, you were the director of national intelligence. I mean, this southern border being porous like this, I said, instead of 87,000 new IRS agents, give us 32,000 additional Border Patrol agents.
Look, I just tweeted out this article from ACLJ. It's incredible. Congratulations to the entire team for pushing through. Thanks to all of the people that support the work that we do. We've been able to uncover this. Now, look, this is what it means. You have DC bureaucrats who are scrambling to make sure that people are not transparent about what's happening at the border. That's what this is about. We have individuals on the terrorist watch list coming across the southern border. The FBI in San Diego decides this is outrageous. Let's decide to issue a press release to tell people terrorists are coming across the southern border. And what happens? A whole bunch of people in Washington, D.C. say, "How dare you be honest with the American people?" I can guarantee you this. They used classification to pretend like we can't be honest with the American people.
Explain to everybody what that means, Rick, because I think that's really important.
We have a problem in the U.S. government where when you don't want something out in the public, if you are a U.S. agency, you pretend like this is classified information. You classify it and say this is top secret, or this is sensitive information, and therefore it's unreleasable to the public. And that's the game that they play. When they don't want to embarrass their agency, they take the information and they pretend like it's sensitive, secret information. But let's be clear, when 2 people on the terrorist watch list are coming across the border and we have to use resources to grab them because they freely came across the border, that's not sensitive information. That's crucial information for the American public.
You're 100% right. Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important here, and as Rick has pointed out too, is that trying to keep this from the American people, but we have a name here. Maria, again, and I think this is very important, Marcia Espinoza, who can be brought before Congress now to have to testify about these emails, because she is on the emails. Even when the other person's redacted, she's not, because she was at CBP at the time. Now, she is the top advisor to Mayorkas at DHS. So she is overseeing all of this. And we see, and I'll go to Rick on this, because Rick, what her major concern was keeping the FBI happy. Instead of treating like a co-equal branch within the executive branch or a different agency, she was very worried they were upsetting the 7th floor.
She was very worried that the FBI in Washington, D.C. would be unhappy because the FBI locals in San Diego were absolutely aware that this was something that needed to be publicized. They signed off on this press release. The FBI officials on the ground, and this is one of the things that I learned as Director of National Intelligence. We have a lot of FBI officials and law enforcement officials who are doing the work on the ground, who are great American heroes who see the problems. In Washington, D.C., the leadership are protecting themselves. They don't want to be embarrassed by what's happening. So they're using classified information, the lack of transparency as excuses to keep the public in the dark about terrorists coming across the border. We should absolutely demand that Marcia Espinosa come to Congress and explain her actions. By the way, when you read these emails, she admits in that email, someone is going to say that I'm trying to silence and cover up and make sure that this information doesn't get out. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, and it's just exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. She absolutely muzzled and stopped that information from coming out. So, like, for her to say, I don't want to be accused of it, I'm sorry, that's exactly what you did.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a call. Warren's calling from Idaho on line 4. Warren, welcome to the broadcast. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. And then listening to this, we've talked before, and so I text my brother. They have a family. We have a family ranch down on the border in southern Arizona. He said in the last 6 months or so, they've seen a lot more illegals. And I asked him if he even had other nationalities. He said, yeah, at the house a while back. They're calling them the international pharmacists.
Well, you know what that's about. And Rick, this is Jordan said it, and it's fentanyl terrorism. And it is a huge problem. It's affecting families all over the country. It's horrific. And it's China. Yeah, go ahead.
As Warren points out, this is an incredible problem at the border. If you have information or people or access to the border, you see the drugs that are pouring across. And this is why terrorists coming across the southern border, drug dealers, drugs themselves, fentanyl from China, all of this needs to be publicized, because then when it's publicized, our local law enforcement agents know what's happening. They can see, wow, we've got terrorists coming across the border. Our elected officials in Washington, D.C. can decide to put more money into it. This is why it's crucial to have transparency about what is happening at the border. But you have people like Marcia Espinosa who are working really hard to make sure that they are not embarrassed in Washington, that the border is wide open, and they're shutting down information. They're bullying the people who want to be transparent. This is an outrage, and we should not let it go. And in our legislator friends in D.C. need to call her in and fix this problem immediately.
It's again, folks, 87,000 IRS agents, $80 billion a year. They want to take that from your taxpayer money to go after you. What they don't want to do is let you know what's happening on the border, which we now uncovered, so that they can protect you. And that's where this reallocation, as Rick says, we go to our friends in Congress and go to work on that. Let's go ahead and take Mike. He's calling from Nevada on line 2.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking my call. Sure. My curiosity is, as an American citizen, with the current administration unwilling to uphold the laws of the land at the border, what's my financial and legal position if I become a future victim of one of these acts?
Well, there is litigation. I mean, God forbid that happens. I mean, let's first say that. I mean, terrorism injury litigation is now it's an industry. So but we got to stop it before then, Rick. I mean, that's the whole idea here, is to not have it go to that.
And look, we have to stop it before it gets out of control. It's already really bleeding badly at the border. It's a crisis. But that is why I think if you're listening to this program, you need to recognize that there is something you can do. You can give monthly supports to support to ACLJ, because we are doing the work. And look, I'm not somebody who's out there begging for money. I'm somebody who joined the ACLJ because we're taking action. We can't do this unless we get more support. And when we get support, we're able to hold these bureaucrats to account. Marcia Espinosa is going to be hauled in front of Congress because of people who support the ACLJ, gave enough money so that we could hire lawyers to get to the bottom of this and stay on it. This is a direct result of our supporters. Thank God we have them, and I hope that more people will give so we can continue highlighting these.
Jordan, you're in Washington right now in our office there, and it's both of these offices, Rick said, it's our litigators that got the information. Now it's our government affairs team to go ahead and get this resolved.
Yeah, and that government affairs team plays a key role after our litigators have gotten the initial information. So we have built up these relationships on Capitol Hill over decades where we've got trust with members of Congress, both the Senate and the House. I'm having dinner with a senator tonight, meeting with a senator and a congressman tomorrow on an issue involving life. We are up against multi-million-dollar efforts to shut down the kind of work we're doing, whether it's a pro-life amendment in Ohio, whether it is this issue involving the border and terrorism. But our team here is uniquely able to take our legal work and then, when we're successful, take that to Capitol Hill so that the work is not done when we get the FOIA information from the court. Ultimately, we get it to Capitol Hill so the investigations begin.
Rick, we appreciate you being with us as always and as part of the team. Folks, support the work of the ACLJ. You do that at ACLJ.org. We're in a matching challenge campaign, which means any amount of money you donate to us, we get a matching gift for. So let me encourage you, ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. And what that means in a matching challenge is if you donate $20, someone else is going to match that and we get $40. And that's really critical. All right, if you're just joining us, here's the headline. The horse is out of the barn. The horse being that a public relations press release was put up by the Customs and Border Patrol saying they apprehended 2 Yemeni individuals that were on the terror watch list through the southern border. That was good that they caught them. As Rick Grinnell just said, former director of national intelligence, unfortunately, and this is just the nature of it, others get away. But that was good. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol. They are overtaxed and overworked. What I said was, now that we're getting all this information in Congress, we need to take this information, march it over to the United States Congress, and say this. Instead of getting 87,000 new IRS agents to go after our families for $15 or $1,500 or whatever it might be, how about taking that money and protecting my family from terrorists coming in through the southern border, or the fentanyl terrorists that are coming through, the cartels working with terror groups, China producing the fentanyl that they then send to Mexico. And then the cartels working with terrorist groups get them in. They maybe smuggle. You could have the terrorists smuggling in the fentanyl. And then they wait for their terror act. Let's go to Tim, who's calling from Tennessee. But if you want to talk to me, are you outraged about this? Because I am. Tim, welcome to the broadcast. You're on the air.
Yeah, thanks for the call. And yes, I am outraged about this. One of the things that's interesting is just recently the NCTC released a communique saying that Al-Qaeda and others are planning on doing an impact on the United States. They're actually going and doing entrenchment in local communities to join up and fight their Western enemies, is what they're referring to that as. Why isn't our government, especially our president, doing anything about it, or is they going to throw this under the rug like they're trying to do the thing with the FBI?
Well, of course they want to do that. I mean, they didn't want this out. They didn't want it public, but we got it. So now we work with Congress to say, fix it, and they can.
Yes, and you have the FBI in San Diego and the Border Patrol doing the right thing, alerting us, the American people, hey, we've caught these 2 terrorists coming across the border illegally. We've caught them. They did the right thing, and then they have the Biden administration in D.C., in the swamp, saying, oh, no, we don't want the American people knowing that, because that goes against our narrative that the border's totally fine and not an issue.
I want to go to Kate's call in Colorado on line 2. Kate, welcome to the broadcast. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for what you do.
Sure.
My question simply is, how can I get a hold of the list with the names and the photographs of terrorists that are on the watch list so I can disseminate it to people?
The FBI doesn't release it like that because it affects their law enforcement, and I understand that. I understand that. But when you catch them, you want to know who they are. You want to know what happened. But here's what. Don't lose the forest from the trees here, folks. Here's the truth. They didn't want you to know that terrorists are coming through the southern border. That's what they didn't want you to know, that terrorists are actually coming through the southern border. That's the fundamental problem here. that bad people with bad motives are coming through the southern border. So what the Biden administration did not want you to know is to know that. We're going to package this information up. We're going to continue to litigate against DHS and get more information, because we'll get more information here. And then what we're going to do is hand it over to our friends in Congress and say, haul these people before you, and then let's get the money reallocated from the IRS to another. We're not saying take it out of the government. We're just saying reallocate it to another agency. Instead of them taxing you more and collecting more aggressively, protect my family and your family with getting our Border Patrol agents more help, because that's what they need. So I just want to encourage you folks that we're going to take direct action on this. And that's where you come in. We want to encourage you to support the work of the ACLJ. We're in a matching challenge campaign. That means any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for. ACLJ.org. It's tax deductible. Again, support the work of the ACLJ. That's ACLJ.org. ACLJ.org.